Whenever you want to, Kenz.
Okay, you're good.
Okay, so good morning and welcome to Transportation Career Discovery Day. We are really glad you joined us this morning. We have a lot of awesome things in store for you. We have our first two instructors going to start here in a bit. So we do ask that you unmute if you have any questions or place any questions in the chat and any questions at all throughout the whole time or afterwards. Okay, so let's get started here. So whoever, Dale or Rob, whoever wants to go ahead and start.
Good morning. So who do we have with us today? I see Mary, Kyla, and Allison, but where are we from?
I can speak for Mary and I. We're from the Voc Rehab office in Fort Dodge, right there on the Iowa Central campus.
Okay.
And Clarion Goldfield, I see, is there. Welcome.
Clarion Goldfield. Okay. All right. So my name is Dale Eldridge and Rob Hepperly. You'll see there. We are the co-coordinators for the automotive program. Want to welcome you in. We're gonna talk a little bit about our program and the career, what you can expect if you go into this field, and then we're going to give you a little tour, hopefully a virtual tour of our shop, show you what we have to offer. So it's a 2-year program, and you start out. We cover out all areas of the automobile. So if you have no knowledge or some knowledge, we take you up to being very employable, and the job market is outstanding for students who graduate with this degree. Job opportunities that you can see are endless, actually. So obviously there's dealerships where you can go. There are independent shops. That's where a lot of our students go, is between those. But the door is also open. We've got students who work in ATV shops, boat marinas, diesel shops, Caterpillar, forklifts, ethanol plants, maintenance in a plant. So if you're familiar with Fort Dodge, Silgan, right, makes dog food cans. They hire students, and you don't work on the line, but you do maintenance on the equipment. So Storm Lake hires, the Tyson plants hire a lot of students from that area, do maintenance. So you're just very well rounded when you get out of here. What they've realized in the past several years is you can take apart something for the first time, pretty sizable, right? You do a transmission, you got a couple hundred pieces. So they've realized the skill set that these students have is very, very flexible. So we get outside companies, and then that makes it tougher on the automotive shops because, we're kind of jumping around here. And we're still on? Yeah? Are we still live, Megan?
Yep, I see you guys.
Okay, all right. So, so the students need to be here every day though, right? So we have 8 areas of the automobile that are covered. And that includes things like transmissions, engines, electrical, right? Steering and suspension. So we do things a little different than what you would be used to in high school. We do what is called a block schedule. So you do one subject at a time. So our classes are set up all as 3 credit-hour classes. And then we have a lab class in every semester. So when you get in here, you'll go into engines, and you'll have engines, and that'll take 3.5 weeks, Monday through Friday, 3.5 weeks to complete that block. Then you move on to the next block, and you do that for 3.5 weeks. Then you move on to the next block. So Fridays, you go for 2 years, that's 4 semesters. So on Fridays, we do a lab, and we rotate our labs. So half the labs are yours and half the labs are ours, which means every other Friday, you can do whatever you want as long as it's something that you can handle, right? So if you want to do oil changes on your car, do something with tires, do a tune-up, that's fine. The other half are something that we will give you, right? So you'll have a task list that you have to show that you can do this task hands-on. That's what our industry is hands-on. So those of you who struggle in classrooms, struggle with bookwork, right? That's the kind of guy that Rob and I are, right? We were not great sitting in math and English classes. We are hands-on people. So we do 90% of your day is going to be hands-on in here. We own about 50 cars in the auto shop. And that consists of old, new, foreign, domestic. We are not set up to do just one brand of car. We do have Ford, GM, Chrysler, and Toyota factory scan tools. And then after that, we have aftermarket scan tools. So that's going to be like Snap-on, Mac, Alltel, things like that. So we start out in the classroom every day, and about an hour, hour and a half, we talk about the subject that you're learning at that time. And we talk about the tests you're going to run, the tools that you're going to use, what the test results mean. And then the rest of your day is all hands-on. So you come out to the shop, and we supply you with packets of job sheets, and you're going to work down through those job sheets and learn how to use the equipment, how to run the test, and how to diagnose, right? We do live work as well. So that means while you're in the classroom, somebody may drop off a car, but it has to fit into that subject that we're studying at the time. So if you're in brakes and somebody drops off a car that has a brake noise, right, we'll go for a test drive. You'll bring it in, you diagnose it, you call down and you make an estimate. So you would call like an aftermarket shop, a Napa, O'Reilly, something like that, get a price on parts. And then you can also call the dealership and get factory parts. And then you'll call the customer and say, right, this is Dale from Automotive, and we are looking at your car. This is what we found. If you want it repaired, aftermarket parts are going to cost you this much, factory parts will cost you this much. And then they decide if they want to do the job, and then you go ahead and do the repair. So you don't know where you're going to end up in 1, 3, 5, 10 years from now. You might be in a shop where you don't do any of the parts ordering. You might be in a shop that you do some of it. You might be the parts person. You don't know where you're going to end up as life travels along, right? So you have to learn those skills of dealing with people, how to order parts and order them right the first time. That's a big time killer in our industry. Order the wrong parts. Somebody drops off a car, you got the wrong part. They got to come back, pick it up, drop it off another day, right? So that's kind of a killer. So we work on those skills. I mean, you're not dosed with it every day, but you do work on it throughout your 2 years that you're here. Rob, you got anything you want to jump in there, or you want me to keep going?
No, you're doing a pretty good job. I'm gonna take the video. I'll start kind of walking around the shop. Does anybody have any questions before we kind of give you a quick tour of the shop?
There was 2 questions in the private chat to me. One of them is, what classes would be good to take in high school if the school does not have an auto class available? So what other classes?
Anything mechanical, even carpentry, right? Hands-on skills, carpentry, welding, just anything like that. But small engines would be great. If you can't get any of those, we do a 2-year degree. So you get an AAS degree when you graduate. So what I would focus on is trying to knock out, you have to have 5 electives set up by the Department of Ed, 5 electives to graduate with that degree. And we have no say over that, right? But you're going to have to do like a higher level math or a higher level English, something that can transfer in and take place of those classes. You have to have those classes, right? So I'm not saying you got to take a trig class when you get here. There are lower level math classes available to you, right? But those aren't transfer classes. So if you could take a transfer class in high school, that means it would transfer in and take that place of that here. That saves you time and it saves you money when you get here, right? So the automotive day looks like this, Monday through Friday from 8 to 12:30. Then you have to take your electives and then you're done for the day. So if you can get those electives out of the way in high school, they're free. Usually, maybe they're not quite as hard, possibly, but when they're free, you don't have to buy the book for them, right? You have to buy a book for them here. Those books can be $100 to $300 a piece. And then you have your whole afternoon off. So even if you got one of them out of the way, right? Now you're down to doing 4 here, time and money. But the more of those 5 you can work towards, those would be what I would suggest that you would take just for the time and money's sake. Anything hands-on just makes you more mechanically inclined, okay? Second question?
Very good, thank you. Yeah, so they wanted to know, what is the most fun vehicle to work on and what is the hardest vehicle to work on?
That's probably going to be a matter of opinion. What we consider to be the best car to work on is the one that breaks down and makes you a lot of money, right? Because that's why you're doing this. But some of the perks are you get to drive some really nice vehicles, right? You're going to drive a car that maybe you wouldn't buy, some very expensive cars, which also puts you in a class where you have a responsibility now, right? You're driving this $100,000 car or $80,000 car. This isn't like you're going to go out and beat on this car. You need to be a professional, which means keeping yourself clean, right? Not having tools in your pockets so you don't tear seats. You're held to a different standard. So I don't know. The funnest car I probably ever drove was like a mid-60s Corvette I had to work on, right? That was pretty cool. It was all redone. So Rob, what do you got? You got
The Corvettes were, when I was at the Chevrolet dealership, were always fun to drive, not fun to work on. So it's one of those deals where the fun vehicles are not always the easiest to work on. So like Dale said, it's a matter of opinion. Some of the real old cars, when you go into this industry, you're working on brand new vehicles, 2020, 21s, but at the same time, you'll get into the 50s, 60s. So it's a wide range of vehicles that we get to work on. Never a dull day in the automotive industry, that is for sure.
Yeah, that's one thing that I think draws students into this that is not great sitting in the classroom, right? Because every day, all day long, it's new task, right? So if you get bored easily, right, you're working on this car for a while, and then you got to move over and you got to work on this car for a while. So it keeps you moving and you're not sitting behind a desk. And a lot of us that are in this field are not desk people, right? So you can have a student who, I was a CD student in high school. Wasn't because I wasn't smart. It was because I was in classes I didn't enjoy, right? I was forced into those classes, and you get into college and now you're in the classes that you get to choose and you're enthused about it. You show up every day and you see those CD students, A's and B's, right? They get kind of a stigma that they're not very smart. Well, you got cars that can park themselves, brake themselves. We take the same technology that comes down out of NASA and we're using that in our cars. So people never classify an astronaut as stupid, right? But so you're not dumb when you work on cars. These things are very technical. So you're just sitting in a classroom that is not enjoyable to you. That's a whole different deal. So you're going to see Rob here. He's going to walk around the shop, right? So you're going to see a lot of different vehicles, a lot of different toolboxes, right? You do have to have your own tools when you go into this field. And that's going to range in prices from several hundred to several thousand, right? So you're going to see, we got a Toyota there, a GM sitting down there, a Ford sitting up here. So all different brands that we work on. What can you expect if you go into this field, right? So most auto shops are going to run Monday through Friday. Some run on Saturdays, some run half of Saturday. You might do like an every other Saturday. You get into a shop, you might just work Monday through Friday. Normally it's going to be a 7:30, 8 o'clock start and a 5:30 finish. Pay wise, depending on the town that you live in, right? You get into a smaller town, you're going to start out in the mid 30s and probably top out in the 60 to 80,000 range. You get into Ames, Des Moines, bigger cities, right? Of course, the cost of living goes up, but you're going to be in the 50s, 60s up to 100 or a little over 100,000. So there is money to be made in this field, but it is a self-driven field, right? The harder you work, the more money that you make. So most of the time it's not by the hour. Some shops do by the hour. And what we have in this industry is called flag time. So a water pump comes in, needs to be replaced. There is a time for that. Water pump takes 2.5 hours. That's what you're going to get paid to change that. If it takes you an hour and a half, you're going to get paid 2.5 hours. If it takes you 4 hours, you're going to get paid 2.5 hours, right? So the faster you move, the better your tools, the more skilled you are, the more money you're going to make, right? So working in automotive is kind of like playing sports, right? there's the Michael Jordans, and then there's the next level and the next level. So there are basketball players that get paid money, but they don't make Michael Jordan money, right? So it depends on the shop you go into and your skill level. But life isn't all about money. You have to enjoy what you do. So if you like working with your hands, right, and you can make a decent living doing this, or there's a job over there that might pay more and it sucks to go to work every day. Well, that's not very enjoyable, right? So you can make good money in the automotive world, but then within that, the harder you work, the more money that you can make as well, right? And that's why they do that. It's kind of incentive driven to make you want to learn the tricks of making jobs faster, makes you work a little harder, a little faster pace, so that you can make more money. And then ultimately the shop also makes more money, right? The more jobs you turn out, you both make more money. You're going to see a snowmobile back there, right? So on those labs, we've incorporated, we have students who leave. We got students in Harley motorcycle shops, Indian motorcycle shops, Honda, Kawasaki, boat marinas I mentioned earlier. So we purchased 2 ATV lifts, and on those Fridays that are open, you can bring in those kind of things, toys, we kind of call them, right? And work on those. But those toys make some people a living. We have students who go out and get a job and work on cars. And at night on the weekends, they tinker around and they repair four-wheelers, snowmobiles, boats, and they make really good side money doing that, right? We've got students who have switched. They used to do that. They got so busy, they stopped their automotive career and they went into that. So those are all 12-volt systems, right? You're mechanically inclined. You can work on those things. People don't realize the versatility and the skill set that automotive students have. And the more you do, the more jobs you start to pick up. Here you're going to see transmissions out here, right? You rebuild automatic transmissions, manual transmissions. Those happen to be the Allison's transmissions from GM. You're going to see that little truck box sitting down there kind of tilted. That's actually our grill. So a couple times a year, we save up money, we get tips, and we sell candy and pop, and we pull that. Normally that thing stands upright, and we grill burgers and brats when on nice days, right? So that's coming up for us next week. And then we kind of have a storage area out there, but when the days get nice in the spring and fall, we open up those doors and gives us overflow into our shops. You're going to see off to the right over there, there are alignment machines, right? So we have old and new. We have advisory committees that consist of technicians and shop owners from a 9-county area around here that Iowa Central serves. And they come in twice a year and they go through all of our job sheets and they dictate the job tasks that we teach, the tools that we use. So you notice there was a really nice one and maybe not so nice, right? So small independent shops, we go to them, what do they use for tools? And then we go into like dealerships and what do they use? So we buy around those. We are very well funded by our college. So we every year we buy new equipment and we keep up. So you are going to use the latest and greatest stuff, and you're also going to use some older stuff. So maybe let's get back to what else you can expect from automotive if you go to work for them, right? Depends on the shop. They have retirement plans. They have insurance plans. So you have to watch where you go, right? Some of them have them, some of them don't. Uniforms a lot of times are supplied. So they do your laundry for you. So what you get is like 2 weeks worth of clothes. You take 1 week at a time, wear them, put them in a bag. You bring them in, drop them off, pick up your new set. So automotive can be a little tough on clothes, dirt, grease, you can get stained. So they do the laundry for you, right? That's pretty nice. This is one of our classrooms that you're going to see. We just have things tore apart, right? So you can look at what a component looks like off of a Ford, what one looks like off of a Toyota, things like that. So it gives you an idea. One of our electrical trainers there, that's an entire lighting system out of a vehicle on that board. You learn how to test it, right? Now you move out to a car, it's just further apart, but all the lights are still there. So you kind of learn how to do wiring and testing in the classroom before you actually go out on the shop. And that toolbox there is full of different components that we can put on those boards to help you practice. You're going to see AC machines right there in front of you. So we work on really old stuff that's 5 years old, and then we have the brand newest, latest and greatest coming off of the line. So you learn that coming out of there. We actually had 2 students who went to work for Tyson in Storm Lake. They run the heating and air conditioning system on Tyson's manufacturing plant with an automotive degree, right? Works exactly the same, a different Freon, but still works exactly the same. So again, the versatility that people don't realize is there from an automotive degree. All right, do we have any new questions, Megan?
Yep, we have a question. Can you please talk more about the required for like tools? So the estimated cost, adjusted brands, tools in general.
Okay, so good question. So tools you're going to have, you have a lot of options out there, but there are professional grade tools and there are non-professional grade tools, right? So you guys are 16, 18. It's like having a smartphone and a flip phone, right? They both do the job, but one does things better. So if you start out, probably the premier tools out there are going to be Snap-on, Mac. They are kind of the lead of the industry. If you bought a basic set of tools from them, you're probably going to spend $2,000 to $3,000 on a startup set, right? And then you have toolboxes. Those are going to vary, but I will say that toolboxes don't make you money. So you can go out to Napa or Menards and you can spend $500, $800, $1,000 and buy a really decent box. Really what we say is buy a nice size box that you can lay your tools out in and stay organized. Because when you buy high dollar tools and you're not organized, you can lose them easily, right? Plus you're not very efficient. You reach in, you need a wrench, you dig through a pile, that's not efficient. You buy a big enough box, they're laid out, you can walk up, you can grab that tool, go to work, you come back, you open up your toolbox, there's a hole, right? That wrench is missing. You need to figure out where that wrench is. So Mac and Snap-on are going to cost you $2,000 to $3,000. Craftsman you can buy for $800 to $1,000. Then there's Cornwell, S&K. I don't know exactly. They're going to fall in between, probably closer to the Craftsman price than the Snap-on or Mac price, right? We have a tool day in the summertime, and if you decide that you want to come to automotive here, you sign up. We send you a postcard, and it tells you the date. This year it is July 17th, which is a Saturday. It's in the afternoon. Mac, Snap-on, I believe Cornwell is invited, right? Everybody's invited, but a lot of times those unprofessional, maybe like the Craftsman, the S&K, they don't have field reps that go around. You got to go to a store and buy them, so they don't really come out. But Mac and Snap-on will come and they'll set those sets of tools out so you can see them. You do not have to buy those. You can bring whatever you want, but they show you what you're going to get for that money. You can buy that day. You don't have to. Snap-on and Mac have distributors that come around to the auto shop and work with the students. Mac, it's the guy who drives the truck. You get 50% off while you're a student here. That's a pretty good deal. Snap-on has a education person, so not the guy on the truck. He's going to charge you full price. The education guy gives you 50% off as well. The warranty is the same. It's a lifetime warranty. So they come into the shop every couple weeks. If you have warranty issues, they take care of them. You buy from them. They just kind of get you set up and cruising before you go out the door. Some students, money's an issue, not sure if this is what they want to do. Maybe buy the Craftsman, the S&K, the Blackhawk, something like that. And then while you're a student for 2 years, yep, this is what I want to do. I want to improve my tools. Then they start to slowly buy the Snap-on or the Mac, and they're set up by the time they leave, right? So the first set isn't a waste of money. When you go get your job, your tools have to go to the shop, right? Well, now you've got the motorcycle or the lawnmower or whatever at home that needs a little work. So that other set of tools can be used at home for playing around with stuff like that, right? You don't want to buy 2 sets of Mac or Snap-on tools. A lot of auto shops are going to allow you to go in and work on your stuff after hours, as long as it doesn't impede business hours, right? So you still have access to your high quality tools. You just got to go to the shop to do them, or you drag them home on the weekends or at night or whatever. So hopefully that answered that question. If not, you can ask more specific. What else do we got?
So there was another question that was in the private chat. Let me see here. It looks like, so there's a little bit of classroom time you guys spoke about, but then when they're out in the shop, do they each get like their own individual vehicle to work on, or are they all working on one vehicle? Can you explain that?
Okay, good question. So normally you're going to pair up when you go to the shop, right? So we have 50 cars, so we have enough cars. But a lot of times when you're learning something, it's good to work in a pair, and for a couple reasons. I might have missed something during that explanation and my partner picked it up, right? And then vice versa. Sometimes I don't have that tool, my partner has that tool, and we work good there. We do have specialty tools, and each one of you get 3 name tags, so you can check out those specialty tools. And now between the 2 of you, you've got 6 specialty tools that you can check out, right? So the majority of the time you're going to be working by yourself or in a group of 2. And now if we have 15 kids in a class, right, we have 1 group of 3 or 1 group of 1, however you want to do that. So, but you're welcome to go off on your own and do that thing, right? That is totally okay. So, but usually we advise just a pair, just for an extra set of eyes, ears, tools. That usually works out well. It also helps you learn to work with other people, because you're going to go into an automotive shop and there's going to be other people. Some of those people are going to be tough to deal with, and some of them are going to be really easy. And you need to work on those skills, because you work with them every day, right? You're almost with those people more than you're with your own family, because you're working 8 to 10 hours a day, all right? And by the time you go home, you got 4 or 5 hours, and then you go to bed. So you got to be able to be a good employee working with other employees. And that's just, no matter what job you get. That's not totally true. You could go off on your own, start your own shop, and then you're by yourself, right? So there's perks to that as well, right? You don't have anybody making you mad, but then you need that second set of hands and there's nobody there. So, yeah.
And then one other question we had too was about job outlook. So do you say that job outlook is pretty positive, pretty high right now?
Yeah, it is, because of all the versatility you have, right? Now, there's only so many auto shops in this area, but auto shops are always looking for good techs. They always make room for a good tech. So again, we have those levels of techs, right? So you're going to come in here and you're going to work away and get your grade. And people are always looking, but maybe you don't want to stick around here and you want to go back home, wherever home is, right? And there's limited shops. You might have to go into the ATV world, right? Or the diesel world, or drive a little ways to another town. But that skill set, there are students who are decent students usually have no problem getting a job. It's good. So you just have to realize that there are natural talents that come into play, right? You can get a student who is not real mechanically inclined, who really wants to do this, but just isn't as good as a student who is naturally inclined. Back to the basketball thing, right? But normally, the harder you work, those skill sets come. So employers are looking for students who show up every day on time, right? Because in the automotive world, you schedule 10 cars for that guy in a day. And when you don't show up, or you don't show up on time, somebody else has to cover those jobs, or customers are not happy, right? And that doesn't work. You don't want to make customers unhappy. They're going to go somewhere else. So they're looking for maybe not the A student and maybe not the best tech, but they want the reliable, steady person who can show up every day on time. You're not going to like what I'm going to say next. Stay off their phone, because phones are productivity killers, right? You think that it's really important that you snap your buddies or talk to whoever, but that takes away from the time that you're working on the car. And remember, the water pump paid 2.5 hours. That's all you're getting paid. Well, if you're not getting that done, you're backing up the system, right? We got another car 2.5 hours from now. The service manager has lined up another vehicle to be in here. Takes you 3.5 hours because you're playing on the phone. At the end of the day, you run out of hours and the customers need their cars back. So if you like to be on your phone, habits have to change, right? Or that isn't going to work out real well. But that's any job. I mean, phones are a disaster out there for employers right now, keeping their employees on task. So it's not that you can't have your phone, but you do have to learn discipline with your phone. So that's what break times and lunch times are for. So the world actually existed before cell phones. So, but
Good advice. That's great. We have one last question before we wrap up. This is a good one. Does your program cover the business side if someone is interested in opening their own business, or should that person take an additional business class?
okay, so they take a business class, but you can substitute the business class. So a lot of people aren't going to do their own. So they take an intro to business class, which really isn't what you think it is. It's not how to start up a business. It talks about the evolution of business and kind of how business works, but not how you set up your business and do things. So there are better business classes, right? So you could substitute a better business class. You just want to tell the advisors, hey, I'm thinking about starting my own business. I want to be in a class that does that, and they'll move you into that type of class. Rob and myself both come out of several different shops, so we can kind of tell you pros and cons. I ran my own shop in Fort Dodge for 7 years, so I kind of harp on from the owner's side what right, how you being on your cell phone affects my bottom line, right? So we talk about real world stuff all the time, but we don't have a business major, right? So if you want that, I would advise you to take a better business class, right? And that's how business owners excel, right? Business owners don't just settle for this. Business owners are usually very self-driven, and they're looking how to make themselves better, and they don't take the average class. So that's self-motivation. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, we have one more question here. Let's see if we can get this answered. What is the most extensive, okay, so damage that you've worked on. So what is the most damage you ever worked on? If a car has been totaled, can you still save the engine?
Oh yeah. Yeah, if a car's been totaled, rolled or something, you can save the engine, but there's always that chance that it took a shock and something is cracked internally and you don't know it, right? So now the car's totaled, you can't start the car. You can take that engine or transmission out, put it in another car, and it doesn't work or it doesn't last very long. You don't have that magic ball, right? Now, we don't do body work, right? So we don't do body, we do like, we'll put in a side window or door panels or door latches, but we don't take dents out. We don't put in windshields, that kind of stuff. That's collision. But we do have students who take auto and collision, and then they go into that field where they buy wrecked cars and they fix them and they do very well. That's a good business. That's a really good business. So, but if you go take collision, you're not going to learn how to work on the internal parts of the car, right? So if you're going to do that field, you probably need to set aside 4 years and take 2 years of auto and 2 years of collision. Now, those 5 classes that we talked about, those electives, they double dip. So if you take 5 classes of those electives while you're taking auto, you do not have to retake or take an additional 5 classes for collision. You would only have to take the core collision classes.
Very good information. Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next speakers. Thank you so much, Dale and Rob, both. The tour was awesome. I did not realize the shop was that big, and I've been in there several times. So you guys have a lot of space, which is
we
really
do have
nice.
a lot of space. Yeah, it's 2 rooms, so people pop into one room and don't realize there's another side of the wall. So
Yes.
We want to thank everybody who came and listened to us today. If you have any questions, you can go through these guys and they'll get to us. But we appreciate you taking your time out of your day to learn about the automotive field.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys, for the great information. We appreciate it.
All right. Have a good day.
You too. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Okay, on for our next is Randy and Andrew. So whenever you guys are ready, go ahead and take the floor.
Okay, we're gonna give you guys a shop tour and kind of show you the classrooms and what we have going on here in the shop. So. How's that going? Sorry.
Do you guys want to explain what program you're from or what we're going to be seeing on the tour?
We'll go in the classroom here and do that part of it. You want to explain where we are, or collision, or whatever else, and what we do?
What collision is?
Yeah.
Collision is whenever you get in an accident or you have hail damage, tree fall in your car, anything that needs the exterior part, body damage, that type of deal, paint, glass, all that, kind of what Rod talked about earlier. What the mechanics don't do, we do.
Show them across from here.
In the past, we do a lot of custom painting stuff. And then on this wall over here is the virtual paint, which this here we use to basically teach you the technique, the gun speed, the distance and stuff like that before you start painting on cars. The 2-year program, we actually started painting, priming and stuff like that in the first month. And you're painting and doing repairs just like you would in the shop all the way through the 2 years. We can go on with the other one, show you the other classroom where we start off at.
Show them the custom painted hoods and the walls out here too.
Do that first.
Yep. We got a couple hoods up here that we did for competition down in Des Moines against other area colleges. This one here got first place. And everything over here got either first or second. It's all done range custom paint on us.
There happen to be everybody flags. So we did a couple of flags, different styles, different techniques. So you kind of feel, rather than dealing with a whole car, sometimes we'll do some smaller projects like this. And students, there's some on the wall over there. Most of the ones on that wall over there were basically just test panels. Do projects, so this was a test panel we do a Harley that stands like this. And these other ones were just techniques that we wanted to try different things. And that one down there with the lightning bolts and the bolts or the emblems and stuff like that was another part of it. That was just a panel to practice what we're going to do on that project. And I do bowling pins, I do all kinds. This here is one of this year is they painted up a snow or a wakeboard, I guess, for wakeboarding. So other than cars, we do motorcycles, panels, bowling pins, all kinds of things.
Pretty much anything that doesn't move, we can paint. We'll take you out, give you a little shop tour now.
Sometimes we paint the doors.
Yep.
This section here is frame machine. Frame machine. You guys might do that. I'm not here right now, but we're doing it fast.
This one was T-boned in the door, so we gotta pull the door back out, hinge pillar, make the door line back up again. As well as possible. Car would be salvaged, totaled. We're cleaning today, so not a whole lot going on in the shop. This is an all aluminum 2014 Ford F-150. It got side swiped, so put a brand new aluminum bedside on it. That's the old panel that got removed. You know, these are aluminum. Everything's different technology than steel. You can't weld them on. You have to rivet them back on and bond them with glue. So everything's changing with aluminum coming up, being more popular. As it is. Right now he's gonna sand it down and he's gonna buff it out to take any dirt or imperfections out of the paint.
Actually, will that work all the way down here?
We'll find out. painted a car trailer yesterday in that booth. We're coming up on our first paint booth here. We have 2 different paint booths. This one's a heated downdraft, so it sucks in warm air from the ceiling, keeps it at a controlled temperature in the winter. And then we can also have technology to bake, so we can bake it for 10 to 15 minutes, and then take it and mask it and pull it out, so you can start reassembly on it. We have 2 different kinds of paint, PBG and Axalta here. This first one is our solvent-borne paints. This is a Mosaic line over here, and then we have Premier line. What we do is our paint computer here. We can type in any paint code. And then tells us which toners we need to put in there in the paint. So that's just one paint code for black right there. Back here we have our second paint booth. This was set up for waterborne paint. It's a little bit bigger than the front booth. Yesterday they painted a Harley. So this is a side draft. It actually sucks air to the sides of the booth rather than to the floor. And then in this mixing room, we have our waterborne paint. This is the new technology. It's pretty much used in all the shops here in Fort Dodge. So we can teach you a couple different lines of paint. Then we have Axalta waterborne on this side. A couple more prep areas back here for priming in. Basically just for priming. I'll walk you back down to the shop and answer any questions you have. This blue Malibu here, it was purchased by one of our students, and it was hit down the side, blew out the airbags, and his plan is to fix it up, which he already has, and then sell it and make money on it during class. So he replaced fender, bumper, blended the back door, and painted both the rear bumper in the front and the hood. And that had blown out airbags that needs repaired and replaced. Take it back to the restoration area. Over here we have a plasma cam, so we can program anything and cut it out. And as soon as you use it for custom painting, it'll paint a lot of those lines up. The Malibu or Monte Carlo. Working on finishing up. I lost you. Am I there still?
We're good.
Some metal work on that one. This is student's 96 Ford. He completely replaced doors, the hood, the fenders, all the rust in it, and I put a used box on it and painted the whole thing. We have another prep area here for painting in, along with a sandblaster room in the corner. And then over here is our metal fab area. We have different brakes, shears, feed rollers, slip rollers. Polmax, all stuff we use for metal fab. I'll walk you back here to the office and we can take any questions.
If you want, I can start answering questions if you have questions for me.
So one of the questions we have here, we have quite a few actually, which is really neat. Are there many tools required for this program?
Yep, there's a tool list on the website and it shows, I think it's roughly average be $2,000, somewhere in that range. You can spend less than that or you can spend more than that. There is a tool day this summer. If you choose to go to tool day, and they will give you a printout, I think it's Mac is there, Snap-on's there, Craftsman sometimes there. Matco is, I think, another company that's there. But you can spend as much as you want on tools, or you can do it lesser. You don't have to buy Snap-on for everything or the highest dollar ones, but probably during the program, it's when you get the best buy on it as far as tools.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Another one was, let's see here. So how do the students, or how do you guys get the vehicles? Do you ask the community to bring in vehicles, or can someone, like if my vehicle broke down, can I call you? Do you just fix anybody's? Do they pay you? Or how do you get, vehicles to work on?
We never run out of vehicles to work on. That's one thing. We do a lot of the school vehicles, which is a big portion of what we do. Students can bring in their own if they have something they want to work on, or their families. We do anybody that's works for Iowa Central or anybody that's around here, as far as we'll work on their stuff. We will do outside stuff as far as customer stuff. And generally that's sent to us from local body shops, or though it's something they're not going to do, not capable of doing, or something like that, doesn't fit with what they're working on. And we'll get some of those. We don't take work away from local shops, but we also get a lot of work from local shops. We do quite a bit of framework, and we do that for insurance companies, plus some of the local shops, and as far away as probably 40, 50 miles, somewhere in that range. But you can bring, as a student, you can bring your own in. When we walk back there, the black Ford pickup is a student, the Corvette was a student, the two restorations were student vehicles. The blue Malibu is one the student bought, wrecked, and was rebuilding, put together, and he's going to sell that. So you have that opportunity. If you don't have anything, we turn away more work than what we're capable of ever bringing in and doing. So you're never without work.
That's awesome. So basically they have their own vehicles to work on when they're not in class. When they're doing the hands-on part, they go to one specific vehicle, or do they work together on a vehicle sometimes?
A lot of times we're working together, and first year and second year work together in that way, because second year might be in the painting process, or first year might be just learning how to prep, mask, and get it going. So they're getting it prepped and ready, and then the second year is doing the paint and the finish up. And it kind of works that way in a shop when you're working. And our shop down here works just like it does in a body shop. We start off with the customer, the estimate, the parts orders, and then we do the process of the repairs. And so you're kind of getting it all the way through, so that when you walk out of here, it's just like walking into another shop, just like you've been doing for 2 years. There isn't much change for you to walk away from here and to walk into a body shop and work, because we do it the same way, and we teach you the same way that they're doing their process.
Yeah, that's very helpful. Yeah, that's great. So basically, is the job outcome good then? You're saying that it would be, wouldn't be hard to transfer to a job right away because the shops, but how's the outlook?
Right now, I have 5 places looking to hire that I don't have enough students for. They can be local. We've had job opportunities in the past from Florida, from California, from Colorado, to getting closer, Omaha, Des Moines, any towns around here. There's definitely a shortage. One of the main thing is nobody really understands in the collision world, because you don't see it advertised and don't see it every day. They're probably the highest paid technician out there. Our salaries, our labor rates are $65 to $75 a unit, and there are guys that can do 2 or 3 units per hour. So it's not uncommon for a technician to be at the low end. I'm saying 50, 60,000, but it's very common for them to be 100, 120 or higher. Abra is a local or a nationwide chain of body shops. Their average technician is 80,000 with 20% over 100,000. So it's not a low paying job. It's kind of a high paying job. And it also gives you the opportunity that you can, I had a technician that was good at frame, and he was offered to go to Minneapolis. They were going to retrain or train him the way they wanted to. And they wanted more technicians. And he also had an opportunity at 3 different shops in Omaha to go there and do framework there. And he chose to stay in Carroll because he's got married and that's where his wife's from. But if he had his opportunities, he had 6 or 7 opportunities to go to, and just stayed to the local one, which also had places for him there. I mean, so it's pretty simple. There's one in Webster City now. Carl Chevrolet is opening up a shop there. They're opening up a body shop. They want everything from the manager to the estimator to the body techs to the prep guys to everything, and they can't find anybody. So it's like that pretty much everywhere. So,
The job outlook is good. That's a good
Yep.
thing.
yeah,
That's
it's
great.
definitely good. If you're willing to work and you want to put forth the effort, they will pay you well to do it. And,
Right.
and it's kind of the same everywhere. It's like if you'll show up and do the work, they'll help train you on any future training you need. And they're more than willing to pay you plenty to be there if you want to show up and do the work. So, and to me, I enjoy body shop work. I've been doing it for 45 years now. And I really enjoy it. I don't think of anything else I want to go do. I like it because it's different every day. I work on different things. Every car's wrecked differently. Every paint job is different. So it's not like a monotonous thing where you're going over and over again. Every day something new, which is kind of enjoyable to me. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that takes me into the next question. So, you talked about skills and you guys do a lot of training. Do you ever have students that are interested, but maybe they don't have the exact skills? Because you guys were showing us those paints and my jaw was dropping. I was watching Kenzie. I'm sure everyone else was. So how do you get that good? Or maybe that's just a skill that a student has. And if not, are you able to teach that?
I'm thinking it's more of a learning process, because a lot of times in a custom painting class, I almost want somebody that isn't good at art. And it's not a bad thing to be good at art when you come into that class, but if you have pre-conditioned and notions in your head of how processes work, it's harder for me to show you a process that works in custom painting if you already have something in your head you think you know and how to do. I'd rather have you know absolutely nothing. I'd rather have you not be able to draw a straight line. I don't care if you can draw a curve. It's more the process of how to do it is when you're creating that in a custom world. So being an artist is not necessary to create artwork in custom painting. It's the process and how you learn how to mix your paint, how you apply it, different techniques. And that's something you pretty much, I've never seen anybody that was seriously bad enough at it that they didn't create something decent. I mean, so don't get upset about, I'm not a good artist, I can't do custom painting. Most really good custom painters probably wouldn't tell you they're an artist. I argue with people that I can create a lot of artwork and stuff, but I am absolutely not an artist. I'm a body guy. I paint things. So
Really good advice, though. That
I don't know
makes
if that
sense.
helps.
Yeah, no, that's good. We have
Yeah.
a couple questions from a different school here. What is the most expensive vehicle you have ever worked on in the shop?
In the shop here, I would say some of the, not necessarily car wise, but some of the bigger equipment stuff that we've done, especially on framework, we're working on a lot of brand new vehicles. And some of those newer vehicles are above $100,000 vehicles. That's pretty common there. As far as brand new vehicles, some of the trucks we get in here might be brand new ones from a dealership. They come in, they got damage on transport or something like that, or they got frame damage. And a new truck can be $70,000, $80,000 pretty easy. So as far as dollar range of vehicles, we'll do anything from small repairs on the neighbor's piece of crap, I guess you'd say, all the way up to somebody's brand new Cadillac. So it's anything in between and like that. And as far as foreign cars, we've done Mercedes, Porsches and stuff like that. That's not uncommon. We don't have that much of a population around here to have that, but there are some, and we do end up with them in repair. So.
Wow, that is really neat. So you kind of see everything. That's great. And then another question, what is the coolest paint job you've ever done?
With students, that's hard to answer because we've over the years had so many different things. When you saw the hoods on the wall, when we did that competition where the students took it to the trade show and they won, they've always got first or second in all their trade show competitions. And it's funny because the one with the lace on it, the second place one also had lace on it. These students don't know who's doing it at other schools and they don't talk to each other. But apparently on Facebook and other social media stuff, there's trends that are really hot at that year. So you'll see some of them are bass boat flake and glitter. Next one is painted murals with people in it and graphics like that. So it's hard for me to say what was the coolest one because there's a whole lot of them and it's hard to pick something that was one I say was the most special because there's a lot of them that are always at first or second place. So I mean, it's like sometimes I agree with the first and second place, but they're probably pretty true that they're all pretty good. So
Yeah, there's a lot of talent there for sure.
Yeah.
Another question we had too, we have a couple more it looks like, but how much class time, and maybe you'd mentioned that earlier, but we saw your classrooms and Dale and Rob also talked about that. So like, is there more classroom time or more hands-on? Can you kind of talk about that?
there is probably, I hate to say, but 90-95% is lab out in the shop. A lot of times our class time, when we're actually going over something in class, we're actually doing it out in the shop and actually doing that process when we're taking up our class time, I guess you'd say. So for me to tell you up in front of class that we're going to straighten out this dent and this is how we do it, it's a lot easier for me to take you back in the shop and straighten that dent while you watch me do it. And that's more of a classwork, that type of process for us. I would say on average, we're not in there over an hour. And most of the time we're less than an hour. And quite often there is absolutely zero time in the class because we're actually doing that process out in the shop. So I'd rather teach you how to paint by putting a paint gun in your hand than I would telling you this is how you hold it, this is how you do it. I'm going to put a paint gun in your hand and make you do it. I guess it's the best way to say it. So it's pretty much out in the lab. So.
Yep. Best to learn hands-on, right? That's for sure. Okay, last question, unless someone else has one, you can throw it in the chat here, but what advice do you give to students? So is there certain classes they should take in high school if they're interested to help them get the skills or gain knowledge? Or what advice in general do you have for someone that might be interested?
I'm on the education part of it. I'm going to be one of those people that say there isn't anything you can't take that isn't going to help you. If you are going to be in the office and you're going to run it, manage it, stuff like that, some of the managing skills, English, writing, having to write something down that you can read is important. If you do math, there's nothing that we do back here that doesn't have something to do with math. I mean, so there is no class that you can take that isn't going to help you. I don't care if it's art, if it's math, if it's science, if it's English, whatever. Business classes would be good if you plan on getting into business part of it, but all of it's going to be good.
Good advice, very good advice. Is there any other questions for Andrew and Randy? I'm also impressed. Kenzie and I were both jaw dropping, but of all the things that you guys have created and painted, but your shop is huge. Like we've been there and I can't believe how much space you guys have, which is super awesome for the students.
On an average day, we walk between 4 and 5 miles in this building. So to give you an idea how big it is.
Next time we're over there, we're going to bring our Fitbit so we can see how many steps we get.
Got it on.
That's awesome. Thank you both so much for all of the wonderful advice and information. We learned a lot, so that was really good.
Thanks for the questions, and hopefully you guys will stop down sometime and check us out. So.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so Corey and Michael, it looks like, are next. So whenever you guys are ready, go ahead and dive right in.
All right. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. So my name's Corey Beck. I'm the coordinator of the Diesel Tech program. The Diesel program is a 2-year program. Basically, we start out with the very basics. Can you see this PowerPoint?
Yep, we see it.
So we start out with the basics. We get you guys through like intro to diesel, where we kind of show you around the shop, teach you shop type procedures like welding and running a cutting torch and things like that. We start you out with basic electrical circuits, simple switching circuits. And then we get you all the way up into basically doing, you know, like computer control stuff on today's equipment. Absolutely everything is electronically controlled today. There's an average of, you know, 10 computers on any vehicle, whether it's a car, pickup, tractor, combine, pretty much you name it. So, but we do customer work as well. So, you know, we don't just turn you loose on a customer project and you know, just basically, you know, dump you in the mix. We start you out with trainers and, you know, doing basic things. But then we get actual customer projects in. We'll pull engines out of tractors and trucks and combines and all kinds of stuff like that. So we started the program in 06. I had 6 students in my first class. Right now we average usually between 60 to 90, depending on, and that's first and second year. But 90% placement rate upon graduation. We're just like Randy and Andrew and Dale and Rob and pretty much all the VOTEC classes here at Iowa Central. We can't get you guys through fast enough. So every shop around is looking for diesel tech employees. And it doesn't matter whether, you know, it's truck or ag or off-road, you know, it's just, there's a huge demand out there right now. We participate in the Skills USA. It's a technical competition. We placed in the top 10 before. That's down in Ankeny. Basically all the community colleges, they all participate in this around in Iowa. A lot of people don't realize the vast jobs that are out there in the diesel world. You know, everyone thinks semis and tractors, but you know, there's buses. Automotive right now is huge. Everybody has diesel pickups, diesel cars. They're getting to be more and more popular. Trains. We always get phone calls from companies that are looking for locomotive technicians. Generators. You know, hospitals will have diesel mechanics on staff just because they want to make sure that if something happens, their generators are up and running. Construction equipment, that's going to be where, you know, like Caterpillar, JCB, Case, you know, the dozers and the big heavy construction equipment that you see along the interstates, that type of stuff. Boats, we get people that call us all the way from the Gulf. Cummins, Mid-South Cummins, they called us and they were looking for technicians to work down on boats and in the oil drilling pumping ranges down there in like Texas and Louisiana. The benefits right now have never been any better for a diesel tech. They're paying for the students' tuition. Probably the best one that we have right now is Titan. Titan Equipment. They're the nation's biggest case farm equipment dealer, and they do construction. So they pay for the students' tuition and books. They buy the student $20,000 worth of tools, which is over twice what our regular diesel tool list is. So they go above and beyond. And the nice thing about it is it's a 2-year contract. So it's not like you know, are roped in there where you have to stay the rest of your life. After 2 years, when you graduate, if you want to move on to something else, you can, but they pay very well while you're going to school, and they pay very well while you're, you know, after you graduate, they keep moving you up the pay scale. So a lot of different things that you can do. As far as pay goes, hourly wages, most of the students that we have while they're in school here, they're making anywhere from $15 to $20 an hour, 30 to 40,000. After a couple of years, once you graduate, you know, 52 to 63,000. After you've been out there for a while, it's very easy to hit the 70 to 100, 120,000 a year salary. I have Ziegler Caterpillar here in town. Probably 60 or 70% of the technicians there are former graduates of ours, and I think almost all of them are making over 6 figures a year. So, and that's not working, you know, 200 hours a week either. They work, you know, 40 to 50 hours a week, depending on the time of year it is, and they make very good money. But like I said, it's a great profession to get into. You know, farm kids, they'll come through my program. They'll learn all the basics, and then they can, you know, work on their own equipment and save thousands in repair bills and stuff like that. So each technician, each student has to have his or her own tools. Right now, if you were to buy, say, the biggest Snap-on toolbox and the entire Snap-on tool set, you'd be looking at around $5,000. It's $2,500 for the tools and $2,500 for a box. Now you're actually getting $10,000 worth of tools because students get 50% discount. So it's a really nice deal. You spend $2,500 on a toolbox, you go through the 2-year program, you graduate, and you want to buy a bigger box, you can trade that in and they'll give you a full retail price trade in. So they'll give you actually $5,000 for trade on, say, a bigger box. So it's a nice program, and they all do it. I just use Snap-on, but there's Mac, there's Cornwell, Matco, Craftsman. I mean, the list goes on and on. So, but student sponsorship. My advice as a high school student would be to a high school student would be to figure out what you want to do. Where do you want to wind up? You know, do you want to work at an ag shop, or do you want to work at a truck shop? And go talk to them. You know, get your foot in the door. See if they'll hire you part-time even in high school. And just flat ask them. You know, if you're serious about this, just ask them. It doesn't have to be a big corporation. It can be just a family-owned business. You know, and just ask them. Say, would you be interested in helping me out with my tuition? You know, if I worked for you after I graduated, because like I said, if a shop isn't hiring right now, they're dying. The diesel market out there and automotive market, this people can't find dependable workers. So it's very tough. But, and like I said, people get kind of scared when they start talking about contracts, but you know, 2 to 3 years is the average. John Deere, I think, is 3 years. And like I said, Case is 2 years. So, but it's a very, very good opportunity. This is a picture of the north end of our shop. This is where I said we work on customer equipment. So the combine in the back there, that 9850 or 9650, that was a customer project brought in. AJ, he does all of my ag maintenance classes. So basically he went through inspection on that combine, and then they repaired everything that they found. The tractor here, we actually pulled that engine out that's sitting there. We split the tractor. You can see the back half and then the front half right behind the engine. So we split that tractor, we pulled the engine out, and then this customer opted to get a used engine. So he got a good used engine, brought it in. We tore the engine all apart. We sent it out and had some machine work done. And then the students put it all back together, put it back in the tractor, and got everything running. So we like projects like that because you guys can actually see what a wore out engine looks like. This engine, I think a rod broke in it and it went through the side of the block. So that's why we had to get a different motor. They say the diesel field is expected to grow 26% by 2020, which it did. I need to update that because obviously it's even more than that right now. Many jobs available. Like I said, you can travel nationwide, you can travel worldwide. No matter where you go, you can get a job in the diesel industry working on stuff. So the shop that we have is a 30,000 square foot. We have a classroom area. We also have a newer 6,000 square foot building. It has a dyno, wash bay, and then of course storage / classroom. We have all the specialty tools and software and laptops, stuff like that. So you guys just have to get but there's 4 full-time instructors. Myself, AJ Langenwalter, he teaches a lot of the intro and ag classes. Michael Becker, he teaches a lot of the intro classes and engine classes. And then Sean Weimers. Sean works with me. He's a 2nd-year instructor. So he teaches like operation maintenance, automotive diesel, things like that. So like I said, it's modeled after a real world shop. We are in the classroom about an hour a day. And like Randy was saying, with most of the other programs, it's 90% out in the lab, hands-on type work. Not a lot of homework. We do review questions. We'll do a quiz in the morning, 8 o'clock sharp. We are hard on you guys to make sure you're here at 8 o'clock every morning. The students will work on trainers and customer projects together, like we said. Real world, lab projects like the combine and the tractor. We cover everything as much as we can in 2 years. So you might be working on a diesel Jetta, a skid loader, a combine, a tractor, a semi. It changes every day out in the lab. We have some projects that take all year. We have some projects that are just in here for a day. So students also can bring their own projects. Your own diesel pickup, your family friends equipment or diesel pickups, same type of thing. The only thing is it has to pertain to the class that you're in. So if you're in engines class, you can bring your pickup in and do head gaskets or something like that. So this is a skid loader that we had in. The student working on it is actually his family's. They had a fairly large cattle operation. The motor basically was wore out to the point where you couldn't save it. So we actually pulled that engine out. He did. And then we got a new engine from Caterpillar and stuck it in and got everything put back together and down the road. The maroon Chevy pickup, that is a Duramax diesel engine in it. We did head gaskets on that truck. With the new diesel pickups, everything is crammed in there. So actually it is easier to pull the cab off the truck. So we'll actually put that truck in a hoist. We'll undo all the cab mounts and the harnesses, and we'll lift the cab up off the frame. And then you can get right in there to work on the engine. Pretty much all shops are doing it that way. Most students out there, even the new ones, they can have a cab off within a day or two. So it doesn't sound as bad as what it is. And once you do it one time, it's definitely the way to do it. So these are some other projects that we've had in here. That orange Alice, AGCO Alice tractor was a big one. There's some more slides coming up. I'll show you guys on that. But we did a lot of work to the Alice. The International, we put a new engine in that, and then the semi, we just did some regular maintenance to it. This is our semi. This is a 2009 Peterbilt. It's got an ISX Cummins in it. We use this truck for teaching because it has today's emissions equipment on it. But truck driving was using it and to train their CDL guys, and we had an engine issue. So we got it back down here, pulled the head off, and we basically wound up doing a complete in-frame overhaul. Our engines are so big, they can actually be repaired, rebuilt right in the truck chassis. You don't have to pull them out. So we got this one done, and then we use it to pull around our pulling truck in the summertime and stuff too. So this is the south end of our shop. The little day cab there with no hood on it. We did an in-frame overhaul on that. That was a student's project. And then the Freightliner Classic, that was another student's project. We did a clutch and brakes and everything on it. So north end of the shop, more projects. The Black International, that was an ISX as well. It was a 1,000,000-mile engine. So we did a complete overhaul on it. And then we actually wound up, we sold that truck. And then we used that money to purchase another project truck that, was wore out, needed work. And so we like doing that. We like getting our own projects in. Then there's no time push on it or anything like that. So the white truck, the white Dodge, we did injectors on that. We put in a little bit bigger injectors. So here's a view of the north end of our shop again from up above our classrooms. This is at the beginning of the semester. There's a lot of open area. Once school's going on, the shop is full from side to side, front to back, all the way down the center aisle too. And here's the south end again. We have antifreeze and oil on hand in bulk. We have our bolts. We make our own hydraulic hoses. It's basically like a real shop. Once you graduate, you'll be very familiar with the way a shop operates. We make students order their own parts. They fill out repair orders, stuff like that. So this is our tool room. We've actually expanded it since this picture. This is where we keep all the specialty tools, all the big wrenches and sockets and laptops and things like that. So here's another view of it. This is our storage, our cold storage at the back of our building. What you're seeing here, basically, these are rear ends out of trucks. And then we have about 50 engines like this on roll around stands. They vary anywhere from late 80s all the way up to, 2019, 18 engines. There's a ton of old diesel engines out there that get used every single day. So we still will get those out, and you guys will go through them because they work the exact same way as a new one. It's just the basic principles. And then once you do an older, that we call it a PLN engine, a pump line nozzle. Once you do one of those engines, then we'll move you into an electronically controlled engine. So the only difference, obviously, is one has electronics, one does not. Up on the rack there's a bunch more rear ends. We'll use those for like brake class, stuff like that. This is the same area, except on the north there on the racking, those are rear differentials. So that's the front diff out of any common semi out there. So the students go through, they tear them apart, they put them back together, and we teach you guys how to set up gear lash and things like that. This is our other building. This is our wash bay. Everything we work on, we run through the wash bay. Today's fuel systems are so complex, and dirt is such a problem. The fine tolerances. If you have a pin and a bore, if you pull the pin out of an injector and you take a black Sharpie and you make a mark on it, it won't fit back in the pin. So just the ink that you put on there makes it enough to where it won't fit back in the injector bore. So we try to clean everything as best we can before we tear into it. These were customer projects that we had. This is the Black International that we overhauled and sold. This is the middle bay of our other shop. These are all our pieces of equipment. We've got a cat loader. We've got the blue Peterbilt and the black Kenworth. And then the little Sterling on the other side, we put an engine in that and did some trading on that, and wound up getting another truck that needed repair. So it worked out pretty well. Dyno. The third section of our shop, our other shop, is a chassis dyno. We can dyno anything, cars, pickups, all the way up to semis. We have hands down the best dyno in Iowa. It'll handle up to 2,000 horsepower. To my knowledge, nobody around will even touch that. Most dynos that shops have, 1,000 is absolute max on it. So we test and tune trucks all the time. We break in new engines. That's the main thing we use it for. So if we have a semi that we replace an engine or we overhaul an engine, we'll put it on the dyno. We'll run it, we'll break it in, make sure there's no leaks or anything like that. Find over the road problems. We want to make sure that, when a vehicle leaves, that everything is good to go. We don't want the customer to take it and go to work and then have something leak on it. And then of course, performance. The highest horsepower pickup we've had was like 950 horse. That was a Duramax diesel. We've had a couple 800 horse Dodge Cummins on there. Yesterday, actually, we had a guy, the Matco tool guy came. He's got a 2010 Camaro with a huge supercharger and injected with alcohol, and I think he was at 865 horse, I think. So that was pretty cool to see that thing run on the dyno. This is what the dyno looks like. Basically, back in, you put your back tires on the rollers, we chain everything down, and then the computer that's underneath the blue tarp there, that's what makes our dyno so unique, is everything's computerized. So when it tells you 860 horsepower, that's what it is in Iowa on April 13th or April 12th with 40 degrees outside, and it takes all those factors into consideration when it tells you what the horsepower is. So. And then this is the south end of the shop again. This is more what it looks like during a typical school season. These are all customers' vehicles basically that we've worked on. We were doing auto diesel at the time. So lots and lots of, Chevy Duramaxes, Ford Power Strokes, Dodge Cummins, stuff like that. There's just a shot of the middle of the shop. Here's students that were doing auto diesel. So they all have their own engines, automotive diesel engines. They're on stands. We make everybody tear them apart, and then they do precision measuring, and then they have to put everything back together. This is an MX tractor that we had, a Case MX tractor. AJ went through tractor inspection and service. We pulled the hood off and had some repairs done next door at Collision. And then the students serviced it all up and got it all ready for the spring. It works out really well. We'll get a lot of combines through the winter, and then we get a lot of tractors in the spring semester. So that way, they're ready to go for the next season. Oops. This is what's left of that orange tractor that I told you guys about, that AGCO, that Alice. And we weren't even done. I don't know if you guys can see my cursor, but we weren't even done tearing this thing apart. We actually had to split off the transmission and the gearbox here. We pulled off both wheels. We pulled both axle tubes off, and we actually tore all the gears out of the center of this tractor. This tractor was used about as bad and abused as much as possible. The tractor wouldn't move, and almost every single gear and pump in it we had to replace. But we don't charge labor, so it's a great outlet for people. They pay for the parts, and then we do the work. This was a great experience. The students learned a lot. Once we got it all back together, they had to set hydraulic pressures and transmission pressures and things like that. So it's very, very technical, very in depth. This is a video, but it normally won't play. For some reason, I don't know. Yeah, it won't play, but anyway, that's kind of my spiel. You guys have any questions or anything?
Yeah, we have a couple questions here, Corey. So one of them is, how many students usually typically have in your program? So like this year, say, I don't know if COVID changed that, but how many do you usually have at a time?
We actually, yeah, I kind of wondered if, COVID was going to affect a lot, but it really has been, a really good year. So we have first year and second year students. We usually have, say 40 to 50 first year students, but we split them up. So there's 20 to 25 in one class and 20 to 25 in the other class. And then the same thing with the second year. We're actually a little lower than that this year. I think we got like 15 and 15. So we try to keep the class, that's perfect. We try to keep the class sizes around that 15. 15 is great, 20 is manageable, 25 starts to get pretty big, but.
Well, that's good that it's been consistent and COVID didn't, ruin that. That's good.
Yeah.
Another question, how do you get your foot in the door in the workforce after you are done with college?
Well, we do a lot as far as trying to help the student get jobs. Every single day. Today I got one email. Yesterday I got two from companies out there looking for employees. So as soon as they come here, the very first week that they're here in the fall semester, we have a list of jobs printed out. Local jobs like Menards and stuff even, but then of course, diesel shops and stuff. So we're always getting emails and we print them out. We email them to the students every single time we get one, we pass it on. Jessica Kavanaugh, she's up on campus. She's in charge of like our workforce development type stuff. So we forward all the emails to her, and then she puts them on the Iowa Central's website so the students can get on there and they can see at any time what jobs are out there. So
it sounds like Job Outlook, again, like we've been talking all day, is very good, which is great.
Yeah, it's back in the 80s, the diesel field wasn't great. The pay was very bad. The work was heavy and just dirty and nasty, and things evolved to where the technology is, like the space shuttle type of thing where you have guidance systems and things. So they learned in a hurry that they had to come up with, trained technicians that knew what they were doing right out of the gate, at least had a taste of it. So yeah, it's fantastic. Like I said, Cummins down around Louisiana, they were going to pay for the students to move. They were going to pay for their housing. They were going to, like for a year, they had what they call a loan to own tool program. So basically the student would make a list, $10,000 worth of tools, Cummins would buy them for them. And then, they would take, $50 a week out of their paycheck or whatever to pay for them. So Sign-on bonuses have become huge. I think the most I've had lately is $10,000. So $10,000 for a sign-on bonus. Same thing, you know, you don't have to sign your life away. I think it was like a 2 or 3 year commitment. You got half up front, and then I think you got the other half like a year later or something like that. So
Oh, that's a good incentive. That's awesome.
yeah.
Very good. And then one more question we had too is, we've kind of been asking this the whole time, but what advice would you give? So I know you talked about, your PowerPoint was very good, by the way. You touched on a lot. It was hard to think of questions from all of us. So very good information and pictures. We appreciate that. But what advice do you give, like any high school classes that would help the students? Or is there anything they can start doing now on their own, working, to gain those skills? Or
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, the big thing right now in the position they're in is to start thinking about what they want to do and go talk to those shops and get your foot in the door, whether it's mowing the lawn this summer and then, working into the shop as a gopher and then moving your way up. As far as high school classes go, get your electives out of the way. In order to graduate with your degree in the diesel program, you have to take 5 electives. So tech math, business communication, human relations classes, stuff like that. So if you can take them, that will free up a lot of your day. Computer classes. I always rely on the generational thing with you guys knowing, a fair amount about computers, but everything we do is computerized. So, like I said, a tractor will come in, you'll have to log on to the mainframe. So you'll have to get on Case's, worldwide mainframe, download software, and then upload the software into the tractor. So saving and moving files, just basic computer skills, stuff like that, is very important.
very good. Well, thank you so much. It doesn't look like there's any other questions. So
Right.
once again, Corey, if they have questions, I'm sure, they can let us know, and I'm sure you're more than welcome to answer that or meet with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. If you go on Iowa Central's website and you go to programs, just find the diesel program, and then all of our emails are there and phone numbers, so they can shoot us an email or give us a call anytime.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. That was very informative. So thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
All righty. Well, the last speaker is Al. So Al, whenever you're ready.
All right, I should be on here, I think now. So our program is the truck driving school, basically, for lack of a better word for it. But we will teach people how to get their CDL license and then get them the training to succeed once they get out in the job world. In order to obtain a CDL, you need to get a commercial learner's permit before you can obtain your commercial driver's license. To get that permit, it's similar to what you would do as a 14, 15-year-old. You got to go and pass 3 written tests at the driver's license station, get your learner's permit, and then you can come to the schooling, the training. As far as an age, there's a minimum age to get a CDL of 18 years old. You can't cross state lines until you're 21. So keep that in mind as a younger CDL holder, that you would be limited to driving within whatever state your driver's license is in. So if you're Iowa, of course it would be Iowa. Whatever state you're licensed in, you would only be able to drive that commercial vehicle within that state until you're 21. That being said, there's a lot of opportunities out there for all ages of drivers. Even the younger, the 18 to 21-year-olds, there's a lot of work at the co-ops, the feed mills, those types of things where they're not hauling goods and freight across the country. So the opportunities are there. It's just a matter of you deciding what you want to do. Overall, the demand in the industry is huge for drivers. Yearly, they're looking for at least 100,000 drivers a year across the industry to replace people that have retired, that are retiring out. And there are more retiring than are coming in. So the demand is growing every year. When you stop and think about it, as far as truck drivers go, everything that you use daily, everything that you wear, you eat, all products are brought with a truck at one time or another. You don't see any railroad tracks going up to a Walmart store. You don't see any railroad tracks going up to the Hy-Vee store or the Fairway store. So everything that you eat, everything that you wear, your cell phones, your computers, your eyeglasses, everything is delivered on a truck at one time. So if you stop and think about it, and that's that way with the farm products too. Once the grains are harvested, it's delivered with a truck. It might be taken with a tractor or a wagon somewhere, but eventually it's hauled on a truck somewhere. So a lot of people don't think about that. So it's a huge industry, and people kind of take it for granted. But drivers are considered to be an essential worker. So during this pandemic, drivers were a part of that essential worker class because it was something that would keep the country going. You couldn't go to Casey's and put gas in your car if a truck driver didn't bring the gas. So our particular program is an 11-week program. You will be in the classroom for about 2 weeks when you start, and then from then on, you're hands-on in the trucks, learning. We start from the ground up, so you're going to learn to shift a manual transmission. You're going to learn how to properly do a safety inspection on that vehicle, tractor and trailer. You learn the components so that you can identify any defects in it. You will learn how to couple and uncouple, which basically hook the trailer up and then unhook it, so you can do that properly so it doesn't come loose when you're driving down the road, which would be a bad thing. You really don't want that to pass you. So all of that, we just keep progressing along. We teach the techniques on how to drive forward and how to back into parking spaces, docks, some of the areas that you would need to get into to just unload the trailer or load the trailer. We have different types of equipment. We have different types of transmissions, which the manual transmissions, we have automatics, we have 10-speed manual shifts, we have 13-speed manual shifts. We have different lengths of trailers. We have everything from those shorter trailers we have are 28 foot long. The longest ones we have are 53 foot long, which is what the majority of the people who haul freight over the road are pulling, the 53 foot trailers. Our equipment, we have some that have sleeper cabs. Probably the majority of ours have sleeper cabs. And so they're equipped that you can see how the drivers would live if they were staying in their truck for like a week at a time or 10 days at a time while they were out. They're equipped with a bed, closets, of course. They can have a microwave in them. They can have a refrigerator in them. Some of the companies are putting in satellite TV. So, I mean, it's pretty common now for the over-the-road companies to have a lot of amenities in there for the drivers. Let's see. As far as job opportunities, there's a variety of opportunities out there. Not everyone wants to go out and drive a truck and be gone from home for 10 days, 2 weeks at a time. Some want to have more of a local job, and those opportunities are also out there for people coming out of school. We have different companies that come in and visit with the classes. They send a recruiter in, and they will visit to let the students know that, what they offer for their company, basically. During a typical class session, they'll probably have 5 to 7 different recruiters come in, and that will give at least our students will have a opportunity to visit with different companies to see what the options are out there. Because everyone that goes to school does not have the same requirements, home time requirements, family requirements. Some people are married, some are single, some have a family, some don't have a home. Basically, some live in the trucks, they don't have a home. And we've got some that work 10 hours a day and then they go home at night. Some work overnights. They might work from 7 in the evening until 7 in the morning. And then, so those jobs are all there. Just something you got to do some research and decide what's going to be best for you and your family, basically. So some of you may have family members that have been in the industry, which can help, can give you some insight on the ins and outs of it, which is not a bad thing. The more information you have is good. Generally, I try to encourage the students to learn as much as they can about the different companies, the different options that are out there, so that they can make an informed decision when they do decide where they want to go to work. The opportunities have gotten greater, and there's more opportunity for new people coming out into the industry than ever before. The pay is going up. Historically, truck drivers have probably been underpaid, but like the other guys that have been talking, that pay scale is on the rise, which is a good thing. So, and the more experience you have as you get out into the workforce, the more valuable you become. After you get a year's experience, you can pretty much go anywhere you want to go. The sky's the limit at that point. Dollar-wise, for people coming out, you're generally paid, the over-the-road people are paid by the mile. The local jobs are more paid by the hour or by a percentage basis on the load that you haul. The hourly wages for the local people generally are running, high teens are running $18, $19 an hour at a minimum, up to the high 20s, $28, $29 an hour. The over-the-road pay, cents per mile, generally is around, you'll start out middle 40s, 45 cents a mile. And now the experienced drivers are getting up around 60 cents a mile. So that translates into a beginning wage for an over-the-road driver is going to be anywhere from 40,000 up, depending on how hard you want to work. We've had a few students come out with an over-the-road company where they were guaranteed a wage of $1,250 a week. So, and you had to run so many miles to do that, but there are some of those things out there. So there is a possibility, that you could start out at much more than that 40,000. We have some that come out and they're starting a lot nearer the $60,000 range. So the local people, like I said, the options are out there. The feed companies, the grain companies, fertilizer companies. There are a few local companies with tank jobs where you're delivering fuel or fertilizer, liquid fertilizer of some sort. Those are a little less popular for new drivers, but they are still there. And those generally pay more. So, I mean, there's a lot of options out there. People have choices. You just got to decide what avenue is going to be the best for you. So, has anybody got any questions so far out there?
There are a couple questions. Do you want me to read them to you now?
Sure.
Okay. So just to talk about job outlook. So we're seeing if, going to ask you this question. I know you kind of mentioned it, but so you mentioned recruiters go in from different places. So
Right.
Does that mean it's probably, you said, good outlook that they could potentially, depending on age and whatnot, start kind of wherever they want. They don't have to stay local, or they can, like you said, sky's the limits, they can go anywhere.
You have some limitations as a new driver. There are companies that will hire new people. Their insurance dictates who they can hire. So let's say, for example, company A, B comes in and says, yeah, we're looking for drivers. And they give you their options as far as benefit package, retirement, home time, all that. And that's because their insurance company will allow them to hire the inexperienced drivers. When you go with 99% of these companies, you're going to go into a training mode, the company training portion at that time. So once you leave us, you're well prepared to go into a training mode or training. I hate to call it a school, but they generally put them out with a individual trainer, one-on-one, for anywhere from 3 weeks to 5 weeks with that trainer before they will turn you loose. They don't just hand you a set of keys and say go. So, which you don't want. People get, bad things happen. So no, you're generally well prepared once you leave here that you can go into that training scenario with the company. And then after that 3 to 5 week training time, then they will put you on a limited radius. So they'll dispatch you on loads that say travel within 500 miles so that they're not sending you clear across country. And they try to protect new drivers from going into the heart of New York City, that type of thing. So they try to pick and choose the loads a little bit so that people get a chance to learn their craft without being put into a situation that they can't handle. So that's the companies have figured that out. Now, that being said, there are some companies out there that you see trucks driving who will not hire new people. Their insurance will not allow them to hire new people or inexperienced people until you've obtained that 1 year of experience, or maybe 2 years of experience, just depends on the company. But that's all dictated by their insurances.
Gotcha, thank you. That's interesting, wow.
Any other questions on it?
Yeah, what about skills? So can you talk about, this is kind of my question. So back in the day, they needed to read a map, right? Their
Right.
logs were, on paper. So can you talk about now, what are important skills? Do they need to know how to work on their own trucks? What about if they don't know how to? Like, what is something a newer driver, what are you going to teach them that is important?
Okay, so important things, there's a lot of important things, but we want to teach you some of the basic components. Probably 99% of the people coming in have no mechanical ability. So most of our people don't know how to work on equipment, and that's fine. We want to teach you to recognize when you open the hood up that this is a water pump, this is an alternator, this is your air conditioning unit, just the basic components so that you can tell, oh, the belt's not on anymore, so I need to call a mechanic. I can't fix it. I call my company or I call a mechanic, whatever the case may be. So we teach you the basics. We don't get into the technical stuff like Corey's guys would do in the diesel class. That's their job to fix them. So we're calling those guys and saying, hey, I got a problem with my vehicle. I think the battery's not charging. My gauge is telling me, my truck is telling me that I have a low charge. So what do you think I would do? So we give them enough basic knowledge so that they can at least give someone else over the phone or over a text some information so that they can help them get to a repair. So we don't get into the technical ends of repairing it, but we try to get them enough knowledge to survive, basically. That being said, the more computer skills you have, the better you're going to be. This business is also becoming more and more technically advanced. The trucks have computers on the engines, computers on the transmissions. Some of those you can control. Some of them are company controlled. They set the limits on the speeds. They set the limits on the engine RPMs. They set limits on when the transmissions can shift. Most of the companies control that. They don't like to have the individual drivers playing with the speeds. Your logging system, we teach you how to do an individual daily log. A driver can legally drive up to 11 hours in a day and be on duty for 14 hours. All of the companies now have gone to an electronic logging system, which is basically a small computer. Some of it is done on a iPad. Some of it is mounted to the dash. Some of them are just a handheld iPad. And so you turn in and keep track of what you're doing throughout the day with that device. So the more computer literate you are, the better you're going to be, the more comfortable you're going to be. Each load that you haul, you scan a copy of what we call a bill of lading. You scan that load in on a portable scanner that's set up with that electronics, and it's transmitted with a satellite on top of the cab to your company. So it's become a highly electronic technical thing, which has changed a bunch in the years since I've started, where I didn't even have a cell phone when I started at that time. So things do change.
Absolutely.
That being said, there are still some less technical jobs out there where maybe it's a mom and pop. They have 2 trucks and they need a driver. You may not have all of the electronic bells and whistles with that particular one. It may be a little less technically advanced, but doesn't make it any less important. So
One
anything
last question. Yeah. So can you just share, do you think automatics are probably what a company is going to have right now, or there's still stick shifts? I'm glad that you teach both, but what do you think a company would have? Because we do hear from students that it is scary to have, the old fashioned, the older trucks that are stick shift. So can you kind of talk about that?
Yeah, the companies now are leaning toward the automatic transmissions. This has cycled back and forth in the last 10 years. 10 years ago, they started to go to the automatics, and they found out they had trouble with them mechanically. The technology wasn't that good yet on them. They tended to break down a lot, and they were not real dependable. Today, they've perfected that, and those transmissions are really dependable, and they work well in most cases. I got a fly that's bothering me here. So a lot of the companies are switching over to the automatic transmission trucks. It takes the shifting out of the equation for that driver. So the driver can concentrate more on the other things around him or her that's going on, outside of the vehicle. Percentage wise, I'm going to guess that probably 75% of the trucks on the road today, company trucks, bigger company trucks are automatics. Some of the local companies have not made the switch. If you are in a company scenario or a truck that does a lot of idling, it doesn't do well with the newer electronics. It tends to plug up some of the emission systems. So the over-the-road trucks, they're fine. They drive to where they're going. They can turn the engine off. They don't have to sit and idle to run the heat or the air conditioning anymore. They have APU units, little power auxiliary power units on the trucks now, so you can shut the main engine off. That auxiliary unit will power your heat or your air conditioning. The local companies tend to, where they do more idling, a lot of them are still running manual transmissions and a little older type of engine that doesn't require all of the new emission standards in them. So, but percentage wise, I would say probably 75% are going to the automatics. We still like to teach the manual so that you have that skill set if you ever need it. If you get a license with an automatic transmission, you are restricted to driving the automatic transmission vehicles only. So you restrict your job opportunities a little bit. So we get pros and cons both ways.
Yep. No, thank you. That was very good. I think that's all the questions for now.
Okay. All right. How much time do you want to spend here?
You're good. We have till 11 if that's okay with you. So if you want to go ahead and show a video maybe or whatever you have.
I've got a video that's a few minutes long. I'm going to try to show here if it'll come through. If I can
And do you
share
have
my,
sound? Make sure you hit the sound if you do. I'm not sure if it has sound.
see what happens here.
Okay.
I'm going to go. Let me know if it comes through. This is a short video on what
Yep.
CDL students will be expected to be able to do when they're practicing their drives. And we're at Iowa Central Community College here in Fort Dodge, Iowa. We're leaving the lot here. We're going to make a left turn onto the street. We got a narrow driveway. We want to set up to the right side of the driveway, come to a complete stop, watch for traffic. And like I said, we're going to make a left turn. So we're going to pull out into the street, use all of our space, even use just a little bit of that driveway across from us there. It's clear. So pull out, grab a gear, then start turning the wheel, watching the mirror, making sure we're going to miss that mailbox, back on the mirror, we missed the curb, accelerate, shift. Once the trailer's behind us, then we'll cancel the turn signal. Centered in our lane. As I'm driving here, I'm going to demonstrate like a commentary type of drive so that you're, as a driver, you are communicating what you're seeing basically. So approaching a four-way stop intersection, we're going to stop behind the face of the sign or behind the stop line that's on the pavement. It's all clear. Proceed, shift. Making sure we're centered of our lane. See traffic coming at us as we're going through the intersections here. We're going to observe and make sure there's no hazards that might be in these intersections. We're traveling in a 25-mile-an-hour zone. Had a vehicle pull out in front of us up there, but it's no hazard to us. You keep your head moving, keep your eyes moving, so that you can watch both sides of the vehicle. We have a vehicle approaching us here. We also see that we have a slight curve to the left. So we know that we're going to set our vehicle, our truck and trailer, up to the right side of the lane here so that we can make it around this curve, and the off tracking of the trailer won't affect the position in the lane, so that we stay on our side of the street here. Back to the center of the lane. Notice we've got a curve to the right, so we'll set up toward the left side of our lane again so that the rear wheels of the trailer don't get up on the curb. The intersection in front of us, we're going to make a right turn, so we're going to set up to the left side of our lane. Our light is green. We're set up right along that left side. Now we're going to come to a controlled stop behind the crosswalk. Put into gear and get ready to go here. So on this right turn, we got two lanes of traffic going to our right. We've got a truck-friendly curb, which means that curb line is pulled back away from the street, so that helps us gain some room that we'll need to make the turn. We need approximately 3 lanes of traffic to make our turns, either left or right. So we've got 2 lanes of traffic going to the right. We've got that truck-friendly curb. That'll give us our needed room, along with the setup we have here. If you look in the right mirror, we're set up about 4 foot away from that right curb. That will also help us. So we shouldn't have to cross that double yellow line. we can stay in our 2 lanes of traffic. So when we get our chance here, the light will change and we should be able to pull out into the intersection, grab a gear, pull straight out, turn so that we stay just on our side of that double yellow, watching our curb. Once the trailer is clear of the curb, we get back into that right lane, sealing off that right side. Cancel our turn signal, grab a gear, center of our lane, watching traffic here as we're proceeding. We see that we have like a light industrial or a light urban or business area. So we've got some traffic in and out of the driveways we'll have to be aware of. We've got a green light in front of us there at an intersection. We want to be aware that that green light has been green for quite a while, so it's now a stale light, just changing to yellow. We got traffic pulling out of that intersection. We're going to downshift, come up and make a controlled stop here at the intersection behind the stop line here. Light's still red. We'll get shifted into the gear we want to start out in here and just watch our intersection. Green, so we can start out. Grab a gear. I'm going to practice what's called progressive shifting, which is low RPM shifting. It helps to conserve fuel, especially in the lower gears here. As you get up in the higher gears, and you bring the RPMs up a little higher. Again, we're staying center of our lane, watching ahead of us, the intersections, watching both sides, checking our gauges. And traffic pull out of that intersection in front of us, but it doesn't affect us. We're currently in a 35-mile-an-hour zone, traveling about 31.2 mile an hour, approaching a 45-mile-an-hour zone. We're going to proceed eastbound here. And we're planning on making a right turn at the next traffic light, which you can see in the distance up there, which is now green. And it'll change long before we get there. So with that, we just watch our lane position, both sides, watch those mirrors. We do have some traffic behind us, but that's normal. You can't control what they're doing back there. You just got to be aware of them. So as we approach the intersection where we're going to make that right turn, I'm going to shut that off, Megan. Yeah, I'm going to try. RPMs down. Oops. Downshift. And move over to the right. Oop, you don't want to do that either. Here. Downshift another gear. Light's still green. And we're going to make our right turn. Again, we've got 2 lanes of traffic going to the right with the swept back curve.
Can you pause the sound? Maybe that would help.
Well, if I can find it, I lost it.
Might be at the bottom of your.
Here it is.
Oh, there you go.
Center in our lane. All right. Can't get it to go small screen. There it is. Traffic coming up around me on the left side. There, I got it finally. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. That was a very good video. I felt like I was driving. At one point, I'm like, I'm getting a little car sick. But
well,
no,
that's the bad part. I had the camera strapped to my head, and when you move your head, the camera moves. But anyway.
No, I felt like a truck driver. So that was very good. I'm glad that you showed us that video.
That's something that our students do daily. Once we get to that point, you got an instructor sitting in the right seat, and you have other students. Generally, we have 2 to 3 students in a truck with that instructor. So they take turns throughout the day driving those areas. I mean, we make a lot of trips around Fort Dodge. We also get to some of the bigger cities. We go to Des Moines, we go to Cedar Rapids, we go to Davenport. We take a few trips for the college themselves. We go get furniture for the college. So we have a trip every year out to Pennsylvania. We got one coming up to Tennessee, and we've got one to Kansas City. So we don't haul freight for other companies, but we'll go pick up furniture for like dorm furniture for the colleges. So, so they'll get a chance, some of the students get some chances to take some longer trips. So it just depends on when you go to school. But, so no, we'll get you out and about, and we can, once we get you, people get nervous about the shifting, you know, but we'll get you schooled up, and then we won't put you in a situation where you're gonna get in trouble. That's why that instructor is in there. We can talk people through. We don't have a break in there. We don't have like a driver's ed car does. We do not have a brake. We do not have a steering wheel, but we will talk you through things. So the guys that are here have all been doing it a long time, and they're good at their job, and they want to help people. So that's the main thing. We want to help people to succeed no matter what.
Very
So-
good. Thank you, Al. That was very good information. Oh my goodness.
We're going to run over time here. So
No, you're okay. That's okay. So, like we've been saying, if you have any questions, for Al, please do let Kenzie or I know, or you can go to our website, and reach out to Al yourselves. But, I'm sure he's more than willing to take those phone calls, those emails or whatnot.
yeah,
And then maybe come
absolutely.
visit. So if
Yeah,
you-
absolutely. Nope. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Al, so much. That was awesome. And thanks everyone for joining us. We really appreciate you being on today. So take care and thank you.
Bye.